Hey everybody, it's Carl. Welcome to the kitchen. So this is going to be a cooking video, not a typical shaving video, which you normally see from me. But like I said yesterday in my Sunday shave, I'm going to do a cooking demo for a friend who's trying to transition from vegetarian to vegan to plant-based. We've been talking back and forth for a while online, and she had some questions about how to plan out a meal and do a meal prep. So I'm going to be doing a vegan meal prep today. So hope this works. I'm doing it all on my phone, so if the video is shaky or sketchy or whatever, I'm apologize in advance. I'm also going to apologize in advance or put out this disclaimer. I am not a chef. I am not a trained cook. I'm just a fat guy who cooks because I need to make sure that I eat well so that I can keep losing this weight. So that's what I'm going to do. I keep my food really simple. I use a lot of spices, but not a lot of salt. So you may be thinking my food is bland. Yeah, sometimes it is. I try and make up for it with heat and varied flavors. But anyway, so we'll get on to it. So what's on the menu today? I'm going to be doing sloppy Joe lentils over russet potatoes with steamed vegetables. I'm going to be doing a tofu chorizo migas. And then I'm going to be doing a chickpea and vegetable curry over rice or with rice over salad greens. So first thing we're going to do is get the rice going because that's going to take the longest. And I'm going to be using brown rice and we'll get the lentils going as well. So let's get cracking on that. See if I don't think I can change the camera around without stopping the video. So we're going to change the view. Maybe. No. All right. All right. So the only kitchen gimmick I'm going to use, because I don't know exactly what anybody may have in their kitchen. The only kitchen gimmick I'm going to use today is going to be my rice cooker. You guys know I love my New Wave oven and my air fryer and all that stuff. But like I said, not everybody has those things. So if you want to try and make some of this stuff at home, I'm going to do it with stuff most people have. Most people, especially if you've ever been a vegetarian or a vegan, will have a rice cooker. If not, you can make it on the stove. This is just a little bit easier. So doing this all one-handed is kind of dumb. So the first thing you do is add rice to the cup. And I'm going to do 2 servings. That should give me about 4 or 6 100 grams, 150 gram servings once it's cooked. And so that's going to be 1. It's a little more difficult doing it with one hand. And you fill with water. There are a bunch of different methods. Some people use like the fingertip method. I just use the markings on the inside of the pot. Fill it up to where it says 2. For brown rice, I usually do about a half an inch over because it takes a little longer. So I don't know if you can see that. That's about right. It's about 2.5 cups of water. Man, this is kind of sketchy. You guys are going to probably be out of frame a lot. So, all right. Turn the rice cooker on. Brown rice, let it go. That'll probably take about an hour and a half for 2 servings. Like I said, it's the longest part of the process. So the other thing I'm going to be doing is lentils, and I'm going to just do dry lentils. Now, if you guys are going to be doing meal prep calorie counting, which is what I do, I want you to notice something. This is a 1 cup measuring cup. A serving of lentils, dry, is a 1/4 cup, is about 32 grams. So this is 128 grams of dry lentils. But notice that if I used a cup, there's quite a discrepancy in what a cup is and what weight is. So if you're going to be counting calories, I recommend investing in some type of food scale, because if you do it by volume, you may be a little bit off. In the grand scheme of things, not a huge thing. But like I said, if you're really trying to watch your calories and your portion sizes, weight is better than volume. Anyway, so lentils, you should know how to cook lentils, but if you don't, lentils in water, 1 cup of lentils to 3 cups of water. Bring it to a boil, and then reduce the heat once it is boiling. Put it on a simmer, and then let it simmer for about 15 to 20 minutes until the lentils are soft. All right. All right, so the next thing we're going to start working on is the migas. For those of you who are not into Tex-Mex food or know what migas are, migas is typically a scrambled egg dish with tomato sauce or salsa, onions, peppers, and a little bit of cheese and corn tortillas. We're going to use tofu today, so the first thing we want to do is get our tortillas, and we want to toast them up just a little bit. So I've got 4 corn tortillas, and we're just going to cut them into quarters. You can break them by hand if you want to. Doing this one-handed, man, it's going to be a challenge. So I'm also going to try and do a good amount of this cooking without a lot of oil, but I am going to use just a couple of sprays to kind of crisp these up a little bit. I think you guys are out of frame there, so I'm sorry. Real cheap vegetable oil spray. You can use real oil, like I said. Try not to use a bunch of it. The pan's too hot. So just want to get a little bit of crisp on these. You can dry roast them, and I've done that in the past. Just it takes a little bit longer, and they don't get quite as crisp. Yes, I'm doing this one-handed, so it's awkward and it's going to be a mess. So I'm just going to throw all that stuff in there. I also don't recommend using your hand to turn hot foods, but it's what I do. One of the great things about when I had chemotherapy, I had a little bit of nerve damage in my fingertips, so I kind of have a little bit fireproof hands. Once again, I don't recommend this. All right, so we're going to kind of let those toast up a little bit. Got the medium heat. Next, tofu. You want to drain it? You can press it if you want to. I am not going to. I'm just going to crumble it up and let the water evaporate out as I cook it. A little bit of a mess. That's okay. Yeah, one-handed cooking, man. Hats off to all you one-handed cooks out there. All right, I'm going to set that right there so that can finish draining. While that's doing its thing, I'm going to check my tortillas. All right. Those are getting close. You want them about, not quite that brown. Like I said, you just want them crisped up a little bit. They're going to get soft because we're going to scramble them up with the tofu and the spices and whatnot. But it'll be okay. All right. So yeah, we'll let those go for another couple minutes. And we'll get the soy riso ready. Soy riso. Everybody knows what chorizo is now thanks to the cooking TV shows. We grew up eating this stuff scrambled with eggs. Typically it's a spiced sausage if you are vegan or vegetarian. This chorizo is spiced just like real chorizo. So when I found this, I was really excited. It's great, fried up with potatoes and whatnot. So I'm going to have to put you guys down so I can get this open. All right, so once you get the chorizo open, I'm going to use about half of it. Take it out of the plastic casing. Oh, don't put your finger in front of the camera. Into the hot pan. I'm going to kind of make crumbles. A little bit of oil in the bottom of the pan would make this a little easier. But like I said, trying to do as little or low oil as possible. So we're going to let that cook at a medium heat for a few minutes. And I will be back once that's ready to go. Also, the lentils are boiling. I've turned them down to a simmer. So they should be ready here pretty soon too. All right, so we're still cooking up the chorizo. Let's see if I can get a little light here. All right, and you just want it to start to kind of get a little brown and crumbly. It takes about 5-10 minutes. Just keep it stirring, and then what we're going to do is we're going to take our brick of tofu and we're just going to kind of crumble it in. And yes, my hands are clean. I did wash them. All right. And we're just going to crumble that up and mix it all together. Get it nice and mixed up so that the flavor, the seasoning from the chorizo gets nice and coated in the tofu. As we all know, tofu takes on the flavor of whatever you add to it. So I find that chorizo, adding about a half of a pack of chorizo, helps flavor the tofu a little bit. So, and you get a little bit more volume than just trying to do the whole thing of chorizo, because it's really, I mean, trying to fill up on the chorizo would be tough, in my opinion. All right, so we're going to let that cook up a little bit, let some of the water evaporate out. Let those flavors marry for a few minutes. And like I said, you could do however you want. I cheat. I try and keep stuff real simple. You could do fresh onions and peppers and all that good stuff if you wanted to. I keep it simple and I cheat because in a minute I'm just going to add in some chunky hot sauce to add another layer of flavor. So I just want that to cook up a little bit. I'm also going to get some nutritional yeast. So give me just 1 second. A little bit of onion powder. A little bit of black pepper. Mix all that in. And then to get a little bit of cheesiness, put in nutritional yeast. Not everybody likes that stuff. I love that stuff. When I was vegan, I used to eat it by the spoonful. It's got kind of a nutty, cheesy flavor. I don't use vegan cheeses because I think they're a lie. And I haven't found one that I really like that melts real well. So, all right. So now we've got all that going. We're going to take our hot sauce or salsa, and we're going to add about a half a cup. Get that mixed in. And that's got peppers and onions and garlic. And so what we're doing now is we're just really kind of layering up the flavors. And yeah, it may look a little bit like mush, but that's okay because it's going to taste delicious. And then we're going to add back our corn chips. Those mixed in. Oops, get back in the pan. So if you guys watch any of my shaving videos, you guys know that I'm really kind of aggressive and sloppy with the lathering. I'm the same way in the kitchen. I spend a lot of time cleaning up when I'm done. So definitely I'm a messy mixer, stirrer, whatever you want to call it, just like my lathering. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of let that and kind of spread it out, let it cook. Going to put it on a low simmer. Let it set, let everything kind of marry together. So then we're going to switch it to low, and I'm going to put the top on it, and we're just going to kind of let it do its thing. I'll check on it in about 5 or 10 minutes, and we'll go from there. All right, so there's the migas. They're done. They've been sitting for a handful of minutes. I've tasted them. I've adjusted the spices. What I did, tofu was still just a tad bit bland, so I added more nutritional yeast, a little bit more salsa, and a little bit more pepper and garlic powder. Stirred it back up, letting it sit, and that is done. So I started just after 8 o'clock, and it is now 8:47. So that took about 20-30 minutes. So meal one is done. That's your breakfast. I'm going to divvy that up here in a little bit, and I'm also going to add black beans to it on the side, or you can mix them in however you want to do it. So tofu migas, delicious. Lentils are going. I've got my oven preheating to 425 so I can do my baked potatoes for the sloppy joes. Next thing I'm going to start working on is the vegetable curry. And I'm just going to use some of this frozen broccoli stir fry. It's got a good mix of vegetables. And we'll get going with that here in a second. All right, lentils are done. So we're going to strain them. There's a little earthquake in my pantry. Shake out some of that excess water. Back in the pan. Back on the stove top at low. And then all you got to do is add your cheater can of sloppy joe mix. You can use whatever. And you can get fancy. You can add sauteed onions and peppers and all that kind of stuff. I keep it simple. I'm just going to open this up and put it in there. All right, so we've got the sloppy joe mix in with the lentils. I'm going to put it back on low heat to bring it to a simmer, just so that the flavors can mix together. That meal is done. All right, now on to the next. We're going to be doing the curry vegetables. 1 bag, frozen stir-fried vegetables. Now, we're going to try our dead level best not to overcook these, but you never know what's going to happen. So then we're going to add 550 mils, about 2 1/4 cups of water. We're going to bring that to a boil. And then we're going to add some of this golden curry sauce mix. The recipe calls for about a whole box, which is 5 servings. I'm going to use a little bit less because it's got a lot of salt in it and a lot of fat, and I try and watch that. So it may not be as thick as it would if I used a whole box. You can adjust the water to your likeness. We're going to try this and see how it goes. All right, so the veg is boiling, so we're going to turn that water down to low. And we're going to take our curry cubes and break them up and distribute them into the sauce. Now your hands are going to smell like curry all day long. There are worse things that your hands could smell like, especially if you like curry. So we're going to stir that up. We're going to let those cubes melt and thicken up in the sauce. And that was about a half a pack, so about 2.5 cubes. And that may still be a little thick or a little runny. We'll see. We'll let it do its thing. So this is where I always kind of have problems because I don't follow the directions on the box and I always get a little bit runny. So I'm going to let this cook. I'm going to bring this back up to kind of a simmering boil. Let cook for a few minutes. And if it is still runnier than I would like it to be, I'll add a little cornstarch and water. So give that a few minutes. All right, so been cooking it down. I think I've got all the cubes, the curry cubes dissolved. It's still a little runny. You could add another curry cube if you wanted to. Like I said, I don't do that because I try to limit the salt. So I'm going to add a 1-to-1 mixture of cornstarch and water, 1 tablespoon of each. I'm going to stir that in. And once that heats up, it should thicken it up enough. And you can repeat that process as much as you want. I think 1 will usually get it. As you can see, I don't know if you can tell, but it's definitely thickening it up very nicely. Like I said, I'm trying real hard not to overcook the vegetables. But I think that's going to be, I could probably actually make it just a tad bit thicker, but I think that's going to be good because it's going to cook down a little bit, and when it cools down, it'll be thicker as well. So that's number 3. So we're going to let that cool. And we'll get all that divvied up. We're waiting on the rice anyway. So, all right. On to the next. All right. Well, here's where we're at now. I'm ready to go ahead and plate or divide up the migas and black beans that I've got draining. So, you may ask, well, why did you transfer it into that bowl? Well, that way I can measure how much food by weight I prepared, then I can divvy it out equally over 4 meals. I only prep my meals for about 4 or 5 days at a time because that's all I need it for work. On my days off, I can cook fresh food or I can prep and then eat. So I'm going to divvy this up into 4. That's about 750 grams of migas. And so I'm just going to divvy it up into 4 different containers. Servings of beans are about 130 grams, if I remember right. Yeah, 130 grams is 1 serving for 120 calories. The migas, I believe, came out to about 212 calories per serving. I'd have to double check that. And how I figured that out is I just put all the ingredients into MyFitnessPal, divided it, and that gives you the total. And you can divide that by the number of servings, and you'll get your calorie count per serving. So it's real simple. All I'm going to do is weigh it out. You guys don't need to see that. I'll show you the finished product when it's all done. All right, that's it. 4 servings of breakfast for roughly, what did I say? I don't even remember. Let me find out. All right, there you go. That's the 4 servings, and I double-checked my math. So that is 380 calories for breakfast. Typically my meals or my calories per day, I try and keep it at least 1,500, no more than like 1,950, 2,000. So that's a good start. And we'll get the next meals divvied up. And that's all you do. You cook it up, then you just divvy it out based on how many servings you need and what your caloric need is. So still waiting for the rice to finish. Still waiting for the baked potatoes to finish. Right now it is 9:42, so I've been at this for almost 2 hours, and I'm almost done. It really now it's just waiting for the finishing touches and then to divvy it all up. And I'll give you guys a peek. My kitchen is almost pretty much clean. I try and clean as I go. Saves a little bit of time. So I'm going to divvy up the curry. So we'll be back on that in a minute. All right. So time to plate out or divvy up the next course. I've got 85 grams of salad greens. It's baby spring mix and spinach, 2 bags of the pre-washed stuff. Just divvy it up. 85 grams is 1 serving, about 30 calories. I've got my curry, my rice is done, and I've got my chickpeas. Baked potatoes are done too. You may ask why I got the chickpeas in the, or the beans in general, in the sink. So here's a little trick. If you're watching your salt and you can't find salt-free beans in a can, or any vegetable in a can for that matter, if you rinse it with cold water for 30 seconds to a minute, you can reduce the sodium content by up to 30%. So the black beans, I rinse them because that just the juice that they sit in gets real thick. Those were actually salt-free. Salt-free chickpeas are pretty hard to find, so I rinse them to reduce the sodium content. So, and we're just going to divvy them up. Like I said, 130 grams of beans is 1 serving. It's about 110 calories. I've done the math to sort out the curry. It's about 200 calories per serving. Cooked brown rice for about 100 grams is about 110 calories a serving. So I'm going to do 150 grams of rice, 1 serving of vegetables, 1 serving of curry, 1 serving of beans. So lunch is going to be roughly 400, a little over 400 calories, I believe, if my math is correct. You guys who watch my shaving videos know I don't math. So I'm just going to get it divvied up. I'll show you what it looks like when it's done. Actually, I'm going to show you guys how I do the first one, because if you layer it in a certain way, it looks prettier when it comes out on the dish. And, if you really wanted to, you could mix the chickpeas in with the curry, while it's cooking, but I don't. Just because, I don't know, it's crazy. I'm weird. So, but we just do this. We do 130, is that 126? All right, so about 130 grams of the beans. And then we do the curry. Zero that out. 1,065 divided by 4. Hang on. Sorry, I had to double check my math. So we're going to do about 266 grams of the curry. Now, anything with a liquid is always a little difficult to make sure that you get like the exact portion sizes. But at the end of the day, it's not really that huge of a deal because I eat the same thing every day for a week. So over the week, the calories all hash out to be the same. All right. So, yeah. What? Dang it. Sorry, I had to check on something. So 266 is where we were at. So I went a little bit over. So we're going to see if we can't get a little bit out. 270. 267. Perfect. And then we're going to do about 150 grams of rice. That's it. I'm not going to show you guys that. You guys don't need to see it. I'll show you when it's all done. All right, and that is that. So there's the other meal. And then the last thing I got to do is divvy up the lentils and the potatoes. I'm not going to bore you guys with that. That's it, man. So that's it. The only thing I'm not going to show you, like I said, is slicing up potatoes, baked potatoes, cutting them in half and pouring lentils on them. You guys get the gist of what I do. I do this every week. You can do it. It took me right now. It is 7 minutes after 10. So in just over 2 hours or right around 2 hours, I have 4 meals or 4 days worth of meals, 3 meals a day. That's 12 meals. Super simple. The cooking is not very complicated. Like I said, you can do it. And if you're going to do vegan or plant-based, the rule of thumb that I always like to use, a bean, a green, and a grain. Just add greens, beans, and grains. Adjust the amounts, adjust your flavors. You're golden. If you're doing a meat-based diet, which is what I normally eat, some type of roasted meat, some type of carbohydrate, 2 servings of vegetables. Breakfast is usually eggs and oatmeal or some variation of that. That's my meal prep. It's, like I said, not complicated, not terribly time consuming. 2 hours, 1 day a week, and you get 12 meals. I've been doing this for consistently or relatively consistently since December. I've lost about 52, 54 pounds, depending on whether or not I've cheated. I'm no pro. I'm no expert. I'm no trainer. I'm no nutritionist. I'm just a guy who's counting my calories, trying to lose some weight and be a little bit healthier. And it's working. 52 pounds in less than a year, half my blood pressure medication. It works. You can't argue thermodynamics. Guys, I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, this is something that you thought was interesting, you'd like me to try and do it again or see me do it again, I may invest in a different camera and a tripod. I know this is kind of sketchy, out of frame and whatever. I'm going to try and edit this up as much as I can. But anyway, thank you guys for watching. Hope you have a great day. I'm going to close all this stuff up, and I've got to go to Bible study with the pastor and my friend. So, as always, thanks for watching. I appreciate your time. I hope you have a great day. Hope the rest of the week treats you well. Have a great day. God bless. I'll see you next time, whether it's in the bathroom for a shave or in the kitchen for a cook. We don't know.